the Fantasy Football Fanatics podcast with your hosts Griffin Palmer, CJ Hickman, Jason Cabrera, and Ryan Mitchell.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. This is the Fantasy Football Fanatics podcast, the official podcast of the fantasyfootballfanatics.com. It is Friday, May 4th. May the 4th be with you. You guys are probably going to be hearing this all day today. Yep, we have an amazing show for you guys today, though. Of course, I'm your host, Griffin Palmer, joined by CJ the Hitman Hickman and Jason Cabrera. What's up, guys?
Hey, what's going on? What's going on? Let's delete that last 10 seconds.
I know, right?
Oh, shut up.
So bad.
CJ.
That was so bad.
CJ's just so negative.
Hey, you know what?
You never heard that
you're
before?
Not a giant nerd, CJ.
CJ tries to act cool, and he's just as nerdy as we are.
If the audience could listen to this pre-show, oh my goodness, you would be ashamed like I was. That's what you would be.
You were the one talking the whole time.
I talked about the movie Infinity Wars with Jason. Then you crossed over with your stupid DC stuff, talking about, Superman took out Hulk in one punch. So just listen, you're losing in the box office. Just keep it like that, all right? Just keep it that way.
Oh my God!
You know what else is good about today, though?
It's a post-show conversation. Yes, Jason.
It's also my birthday today.
Hey! Happy birthday! There you go. It's
May the 1 million be with everyone.
Jason.
What was that?
I'm saying 1 million pesos for Jason.
1 million pesos to Jason.
That's like $5.
Yeah. Wow. Anyway, let's get. I promise to all of you who may still be here. I'm sure there are very few of you. This is a fantasy football show. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. We do talk some good facts about fantasy football here in the show, and we'll get to that in just a minute. Today we have...
Don't get apologetic, Griffin.
I'm just trying to say, this is a conversation we could have at a post show. That's where we talk about nerdy stuff. People are probably tuning in for football. Let's talk some football. Though I'm not opposed to it. We could stay talking about this stuff if you guys want to. Just burn the show to the ground. But
Steph Rollins.
What is actually right? What's actually on the docket today, as you may know if you read the title when you downloaded this podcast, is we're finishing off what we started on Tuesday's show, talking about the top fantasy rookie prospects, and today we are talking wide receivers and tight ends. So not quite as many that are going to be necessarily immediately impactful, not as much redraft value, but some very good dynasty value and some streamers down the line. We'll get to all those names in a minute. If you guys want to support the show, make sure you guys subscribe wherever you're listening. YouTube, iTunes, the Apple Podcast app, Google Play, Stitcher. We're all over the place. Also, if you want to submit your questions, we'll answer them on the air even. That's simply on Twitter, at the FF Fanatics is the easiest way to do that. And if you want to support the show truly and help us keep these lights on, head over to patreon.com/thefantasyfootballfanatics. Get yourself some bonus podcasts every single week, along with a lot of other pretty cool perks. And with that, let's get to it. And we'll move right into our top headlines from around the league, as is per usual this time of year. There's not much to talk about, but there are some newsworthy items, and we'll start off with the fact that, and this pertains to us as fantasy fans, Yahoo has switched their standard scoring from regular standard fantasy to half point per reception. So that's in line with everything that we do. So, hey, kudos to them. It was ESPN last year that switched to full point per reception. We talked about that on the show. That was ESPN, right? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah.
Can't keep all
it
the...
was.
Yeah.
It was, yeah. I can't keep it all straight anymore. Kudos. And now if only they could, move, universally to half point and universally to, getting away with snake drafts and doing auctions as we do and get away with waiver priority and get into fab. And all those IDP would be great if that caught on. All these things that we talk about a lot. That would be awesome. I think we would like to see that, wouldn't we?
We would. but you just got to take it how you get it, man. Look, this is a slow change.
Yes.
But I feel like we're gonna get that. We're gonna get that, and then maybe Yahoo can probably compete with the NFL.com and the ESPN ones and all those other people.
Yeah, this isn't your father's fantasy football game anymore. It's the new age. Let's catch up with the scoring and the formats and the ways to play. So yeah, Yahoo making a bold switch, and we like it. Yeah. Let's move on to some quarterback news though, and this was pretty breaking yesterday. Atlanta Falcons quarterback Matt Ryan signed a 5-year extension worth $120 million, with $100 million of those dollars guaranteed. This now keeps him under contract through the 2023 season, also making him the first quarterback in league history to make $30 million per year with $100 million guaranteed. Holy crap, Matt Ryan, and now can you only imagine what Aaron Rodgers is going to get because he's right around the corner. So
I'm just thinking about these quarterbacks back in the day that laid the groundwork for us what we're looking at now, and they're still alive, and they look at this money that's being passed out, and they're like, "What the hell?
Dang
Like, why couldn't we get a DeLorean and just move back, go back and get a little piece of this pie? Because this is ridiculous. That is ridiculous. And I mean, can I be the first one to say it? And I might be alone on this, but hashtag overpaid. A little overpaid. Sorry.
I mean, he's a very good quarterback. He's upper echelon in the league. And I mean, it's the market for quarterbacks, so it is. It is. Do you honestly think my Ravens wanted to pay Joe Flacco all that money that we're still stuck with to this day?
You were bent over a barrel, butt naked, and you had to pay him that money. That's what you were doing.
Well, yeah,
you had no other choice. One step too far.
you had no.
He always does.
And he was doing it smiling too, because he knew he was getting that money from y'all, man. I mean, look, he got the trophy, he got his keys to his new car, and he's just looking up in that owner's box like, hey, you know what you got to do.
Well, I mean, the market for a starting quarterback, and not only that, coming off of a Super Bowl MVP, historical playoff run performance, that's something he's never lived up to, and something that will get you paid. So, Joe Flacco.
He did. He lived up to it to get the check. Now, what happened after
he showed up to get the check. That's what he did.
Hey, you know what I'm saying?
So
I mean, that's on y'all.
but of course, as we've talked about extensively now, Lamar Jackson in the house. His time in Baltimore probably limited. He'll be there this year, probably next year. We'll see. It all depends on what happens this year, but you won't be around.
It's the guy. That. You got him and RG3. Yeah, I mean, look at Griffin's offense. Oh my goodness.
I loathe mobile quarterbacks.
No more going to the bathroom when they're on the field, right?
I never go to the bathroom when my team's on the field. Thank you, CJ.
Well, I was talking about the rest of America.
Yeah.
That's just
anyway, let's move on. Another bit of quarterback news. The New York Jets have waived quarterback Bryce Petty. So one of those 5 quarterbacks they had on the roster no longer there, so not surprising at all. I still think they only carry 3 once it's all said and done. Would we agree on that?
Yeah, it's gonna be like a Kill Bill list on that quarterback room. They're just gonna be just taking people off one by one.
It's funny you say that because I literally had Kill Bill on the TV next to me while I was typing up the show doc. So how's that for timing? So I guess the question is it going to be Teddy Bridgewater or Christian Hackenberg that gets the axe?
Oh, come on, really?
Gotta be Hackenberg.
I mean, it's in his name. He's going to be hacked. Come on.
I mean, you would assume, right?
They're going to hack the bird.
They're going to hack the bird.
But, it all comes down to Teddy's health is the other thing. So we'll see. I would assume it's Christian Hackenberg. I don't think they'll carry 4. I think it's going to be Christian Hackenberg's gone. 2016 second-round pick. Well, that sucks for them. But out the door. And Josh McCown, Sam Darnold, Teddy Bridgewater will most likely be the Jets' trio of quarterbacks that they'll carry into the season. That would be my guess. Let's move on to the running back position, where Indianapolis Colts running back Marlon Mack is now recovering from off-season shoulder surgery. He had it just a day or two ago. This was a torn labrum he had in his shoulder. He apparently played through the whole season with the injury. This was scheduled, not surprising. So kind of surprised it's happening this late into the offseason, but expectations are they should be fine by the start of the season, and this is, an opportunity he's not going to want to pass up because we haven't gotten to our winners and losers yet of the offseason, but I see him as potentially a pretty big winner here because the Colts didn't do anything to, draft depth behind him until the 4th round and later. So, and they upgraded the offensive line quite a bit. So he probably wants to get healthy because this is his shot. Are you guys worried at all about Marlon Mack getting surgery in May?
Well, it's not good. I mean, it's a tad concerning. I don't know. I need more information.
Yeah, I'm typically not a fan of late surgeries. I mean, especially when we are literally a month away from training camp. I mean, I'm off what is that? Small mini camp, mandatory.
The mandatory mini camps, the off-season training programs. I know what you meant. Yeah,
all that stuff right there. I definitely don't like that. And then depending on how long he's going to be out, what is it, a 3 to 6 month recovery with the shoulder?
I'd have to double check the statistics on it, but think he should be ready by August.
August, all right. Well, we'll see. I mean, that's a little better. I mean, but just typically, you hearing players doing these surgeries, you want them to do a little a little earlier in the year, maybe January, maybe February, April, probably. But when you start getting to May and June, that's a little concerning.
Yeah, I'm trying to bring up if there's any updates on the expectations. It's unclear when the surgery took place. Disappointing that they waited this long. Expectations are that he seems likely to miss OTAs and mini camps, but they hope that he will be back by the start of training camp. So yeah,
see. We all hope.
Chris Ballard said he expects Marlon Mack back for training camp. Yeah, that seems to be the running thing. So yeah.
The man's name is Ballard. Stop calling him Ballard.
I like it better
Ballard.
that way.
Oh God.
But yeah, look, I'm bad with names. I find a way I like to say it, and I just stick with it. So yeah, Marlon Mack for fantasy. Where do you guys think about taking Marlon Mack right about now?
Is it fair to stay undrafted? Undrafted, maybe.
I mean, he could be the starter.
Later rounds.
He could be, but I mean, this team and injuries. It's not looking too good the last couple of years.
They're Ravens-esque. Very Ravens-esque with that.
I mean, they drafted a first and second round guard, so they've upgraded that offensive line finally.
Yeah.
I mean, if he's healthy, he could have a decent opportunity in front of him. There's enough pass catchers out there that aren't going to be able to just stack the box against him. So, and especially if Andrew Luck's back, I could see a world where he's a mid-round value. If you get him probably in late rounds, you're probably pretty excited about that because the upside, because you're taking shots at that point anyway. But yeah, if Marlon Mack slips to the mid-rounds, I would probably be pretty comfortable taking a shot on him there. Let me see where he's going right now. I'm going to try and bring it up really fast.
I'm letting him go to the waiver wire, and I might pick him up on an off week.
You got to do that risk mitigation. Yeah. Okay. So how does this sound? Marlon Mack as the 37th running back off the board as the first pick in the 9th round. Is that too much for you?
To Jason. I'm going to leave that to Jason.
9th round, I think, is okay.
I would take him there.
And for a starting running back, for a potential starting running back in the 9th round, I think that's decent value.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. I would take him there. Why not? Yeah, you're basically into double-digit rounds anyway. You're taking upside shots. You could have potentially probably running back 2 flex option guy there getting in the 9th round, much less a streaming option. So I would go for that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's keep moving to the wide receiver position, and this is mistakes were made. According to ESPN's Adam Schefter, there are, quote, far more teams, end quote, not willing to sign unrestricted free agent wide receiver Dez Bryant to the league minimum contracts than there are teams that are even interested in signing him. So, passed up a multi-year, multi-million-dollar contract with the Ravens, wanted to bet on himself, and it looks like a lot of teams don't really want the guy, which is not surprising based on his off-the-field, even on-the-field issues, and his productivity over the last couple of years. So, I mean, you have to assume that Dez Bryant gets a job somewhere, but I'm starting to wonder if it even happens before training camp. I would have to assume it does because, I mean, he's an asset, but, I mean, he's going to have to bring down his asking price, I would assume. Have you guys heard anything about where any teams that are expressing interest at this point post-draft or anywhere that you're thinking he might end up?
I mean, the only news I heard was when, before the draft was saying that he was going to wait until after the draft if there's going to be any movement. And, of course, we've seen that that's not the case as it stands right now. I definitely agree with you. He's definitely going to have to bring his asking price down for people to, even consider him and get him. I mean, it's just tough. I mean, everyone has been seeing these last couple of years, you've been playing hurt, been injured, and your game has diminished. I mean, you've come down. You've been very micro S as far as your routes. You're very limited on that. So I'm not gonna try to pay you big top dollar. And if all I'm getting out of you is 9 routes and a freaking curl, that's it. I mean, that's not elite. You're not getting the elite receiver money off of those two routes.
I mean, he passed up a $20+ million 3-year contract, so I would just imagine he's kicking himself right about now if these reports are true. So, I mean, we'll see how it plays out, of course. We have a long offseason ahead of us. The dead portion of the season, there's a good 6-week, 2-month stretch where nothing happens, as we all know, which is right around the corner. So, who knows? Maybe something will happen there. It'll give us something to actually talk about, a spark of life in the offseason. So, yeah, we'll We'll monitor and we will report as we know more. And speaking of the Dallas Cowboys and their offense kind of imploding on itself, Dallas Cowboys tight end Jason Witten has officially decided to call it a career. This has been rumors and speculation for the last couple weeks. He basically announced it leading up to the draft that this was something that he was considering doing and probably going to do. It wasn't official, which is why we didn't report it till now. And yet, here he is, retired and gone. And now, man, do I really, really not like the Dallas Cowboys offense. I think what makes me laugh even more is that the Philadelphia Eagles traded up one spot ahead of them in the second round and drafted Dallas Goedert, which would have been, Dallas and Dallas. Goddard, whatever. It got Dallas Goedert, and who was to us the top tight end in this draft. Still don't know why he went third. Still don't know why my Ravens didn't take him one and took Hayden Hurst one. But yeah, that happened. So thoughts, guys? What is Dallas going to do? What is salvageable in this offense right now?
Before I get into my analysis, I saw a hilarious picture of Tony Romo, Dez Bryant, and Jason Witten, and on the top of it says, "I don't feel good, Mr. Jones." And those who've seen Infinity Wars, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, that was it's so poetic. I mean, my Eagles win the Super Bowl, and then I finally get rid of this tight end that has been a nemesis of mine the last just ridiculous amount of years. This is a big blow for the Cowboys. Oh my gosh. I mean, this guy was freaking Dak Prescott's safety blanket. And now you're getting rid of Dez, which I thought was going to be beneficial for Prescott, so he doesn't have to force the ball to Dez. But now you're getting away from his comfort zone. You're getting rid of it. Now Dak Prescott is going to be throwing the ball to Allen Hurts, Tavon Austin, Colt Beasley, Tremaine Johnson, whatever Terrence Williams. I'm sorry,
Terrence Williams. Yeah,
Terrence Williams. That is their offense, and of course Zeke.
They apparently will not be throwing to Tavon Austin because they acquired him as a running back, according to Dallas. So we'll see if that's actually accurate.
What the crap is
They said that they want to use him more as a running back than as a wide receiver, which is
oh my goodness, this is this is getting better. This is getting better.
You already have Ezekiel Elliott. You expect us to believe you're going to use Tavon Austin as just a running back? He's going to be in the slot, and they're going to use him that way. But
he's going to be a gadget player.
He will be
more than likely.
Which is what he is, so that works.
Which is what he is.
It's so good. It's so good.
And don't forget they picked up a wide receiver in the draft. Big kid, 6'1",
which we'll talk about.
Not the fastest dude in the world, which we'll talk about.
I like how we'll talk about him, and Allen Hurns are kind of slotted as the backups right now. I'm like, in what world are they not the starters? So,
that's a little scary.
Yeah, I just assume this is the Cowboys trying to be misdirection at a time when nobody cares. So, yeah, we'll get there. But anyway, let's go ahead and get to it. Actually, let's get into the topic of the day: why everybody's here. And this is our top rookie fantasy wide receivers and tight ends. We covered quarterbacks and running backs on Tuesday's show. If you guys would like to hear about those, go back and download that show. It's good stuff, a lot of good content. But we're going to get right to it, and we'll start with who was the top running back taken off the board, one freaking spot ahead of my Baltimore Ravens, and that was
wide receiver.
Wide receiver. What did I say?
Hey, you said running back.
I'm all turned around. Wide receiver, DJ Moore out of Maryland. I mean,
good pick. Good pick.
This was a guy who was rising on all of our boards. We all thought certainly could be the first wide receiver taken. Expected to be the second one, which is why I thought for sure my Ravens had a shot at him. Probably did a couple times before they traded back a few times. But he now lands in Carolina. So, guys, DJ Moore, big wide receiver. I mean, we say big. I mean, he's 6 foot tall, but, I mean, he plays just huge. His play style very physical.
He plays taller.
Yeah, he plays much taller than that. He's aggressive, jump ball. Really, really good guy. He knows how to set up defensive backs so that they are just kind of out of position. I really like this guy. I really wanted him, as I've said quite a few times. What are your thoughts on him and his landing spot with the Carolina Panthers? Who are the winners and losers here? How does he affect the offense?
Well, You're talking about a guy that, like you said, he rose up boards real quick, and I think that's because everybody started to realize the body control, the route running. The route running is the one knock on him. I think that he could probably get better in his route running. It's a little sloppy.
Yeah.
But everything else, the speed, sub 4.540, the height, the fact that he can high point the ball, the fact that when he catches the ball and starts to run, the guy almost looks like a running back. I mean, he's just a very, very talented wide receiver, as close to a wide receiver one as you got in this draft. So that's all good news. The bad news is he went to a team that doesn't have a very good throwing quarterback. That's something that has to be said and has to be understood. But at the same time, I don't think you have to worry too much about that because I think this guy's going to get a lot of targets going his direction. I like him for fantasy. Obviously, rookie, so you got to be careful and just wait for a little while. But this is definitely someone to keep your eye on, especially in dynasty leagues.
Yeah, me personally, I think this was a good spark I wanted to see out of Carolina's offense. I was very surprised by the move. I mean, I saw a lot of mock drafts saying they're going different directions, so I kind of felt that they were going to do that. But when they did pick him up, and when they did draft him, I was like, yes, you know what? I like this. This is things I like right now because when you look at that receiving core, outside of Funches, you know, you really didn't have anything that you wanted to take home about or something that you'll be excited about going to next year. I mean, we all think that Devin Funches is going to take a step forward. Of course, you got Greg Olsen coming back, so that's going to be good too. But you looking for that other receiver. And to be honest, I mean, I love my man. He brought me a Super Bowl, but Torrey Smith, he's not going to be that guy. It's just he just hasn't shown it that he can be consistent throughout the whole year. So now you're bringing in this kid, DJ Moore, like Jason said, man, everything is good. I mean, and I do expect his route running to be better, but I just like the spark in that he is basically NFL ready. I mean, that's how he was coming into the combine and then basically been talked about. I looked at him basically kind of like a Corey Davis. Now, Corey Davis was a phenomenal route runner, but he was being compared and talked about saying that he was NFL ready day one. So I like him coming into the Carolina offense. I might disagree with the whole Cam Newton thing. I'm a better Cam Newton fan than everybody else on the show, but I do think that they're going to get together and make some good magic in that Carolina's offense.
I just think there's so much of what I as CJ said, I side with Jason here. What makes Cam Newton special is his legs, and they're trying to keep him from using his legs. He's definitely not the most precise passing quarterback in the league. But I think DJ Moore gives him a very reliable target down the field. His route running, again, suspect, like Jason said, but that out of the grand scheme of things that they can work on with a player, that's something that can definitely progress through a career. And I'll point this out to you guys. Besides Devin Funches, who made great strides last season, I really like Devin Funches. He was a fantasy darling in a lot of circles and deeper leagues. No other wide receiver on this team that's returning had more than 17 catches last year. So there's just there's a huge opportunity for him. Torrey Smith, I love Torrey. He drafted by my Ravens, played here for a while, was on our Super Bowl team, but he's now going to his third team in 3 seasons. I mean, he's bouncing around a lot. He's a speedy guy with unreliable hands. He's going to stretch the field and being used probably as a distraction more than anything. I see a chance for DJ Moore to be a late round flyer in fantasy and probably give you some pretty serious upside here. So I like DJ Moore. I'm still bummed that we didn't get our hands on him, but I very much like him. He was my favorite wide receiver in this draft, and he goes to not my favorite situation, but one that I still think can be viable for fantasy. So we'll move on. Next guy on the list was he was very, very widely perceived as being the top wide receiver in this draft, but he goes number 2 overall. Not overall. He goes 26 overall, but he goes as the second wide receiver off the board, and that would be Calvin Ridley out of Alabama. I mean, as far as, we talked about the shortcomings of DJ Moore, Calvin Ridley is the opposite. He is maybe average size, maybe not the biggest guy, but not the best at boxing people out, but he has outstanding footwork. He's very fast. He's explosive. He has great route running. I mean, what was the expression that you always said that you hear about him, Jason? Silky smooth with his running?
Silky smooth.
Yeah.
Silky smooth when he runs. He get into his brakes, out of his brakes. It's all natural. He's a more natural wide receiver, I think, than DJ Moore as far as that goes. And if you watch him, it looks effortless when he plays. His hands, very, very soft hands. He catches the ball easily, no problem. You're right. He's more slight than DJ Moore, even though it's basically the same height.
Right.
He's a little bit more slight, about 189 pounds. And he runs like a wide receiver, not like a running back.
Right.
But definitely somebody that is going to be a possession guy, someone that's going to get a lot of yardage and is going to take the pressure off of Julio Jones. I really like this pick for Atlanta.
I was kind of surprised when they actually made this pick. I mean, I thought they were going to go defense, but I mean, once again, I got to see what the departures that they had on the offseason, why they probably made that. They wanted to bring maybe more youth at that third wide receiver's position with Taylor Gabriel going to the Bears. So you get a better contract. You know, you got him down for 4 years plus that 5th-year option, and then you got that youth and like the explosiveness that you guys were saying. He can be able to be in that offense. I mean, you got Julio Jones, you got Sanu, and now you got him, Kyler Ridley coming in. That's a nice little trio right there. It's a nice trio.
I mean, yeah. I like you, CJ. I thought they were going defense here. They have just so many needs on defense, and they had a lot of draft picks. Let's be honest. They burned a lot of them on defense. But I mean, man, wow, they had so many draft picks. Just looking at the list right now, holy crap! But yeah, they went with a position out of need. But yeah, like you said, filling in Taylor Gabriel's role. Calvin Ridley. He's, as we've kind of now said repeatedly, not the biggest guy, but a great route runner. He's not your prototypical number one receiver. I thought it was best case scenario for him to go to a place where he didn't have to be the number one, and going to Atlanta where there's Julio Jones, who is uncontestedly the number one, I think is a great fit for him. I think it's a great opportunity for him to develop as a receiver, maybe put some weight on, and maybe be able to use his route running and explosiveness to maybe one day become the next Antonio Brown if that's in the cards for him. But I like the fit. Great. Good offense, really good weapons around him, good quarterback who just got a massive extension. He could be a very decent pick down the line. I'm probably not looking to draft him very much unless I'm in deeper leagues this year. I would say probably for me a later round pick because I just don't think the upside's there. There's just not. I don't think there's going to be enough scoring opportunities, and the yardage is probably going to be limited. Looking at Taylor Gabriel's stats over the last handful of years that he's been there, so I don't know. When would you guys be looking at drafting Calvin Ridley, or would you at all?
I would probably wait a late round flyer. I'm not too big on Falcons offense this upcoming season, but if I had to change of heart, probably a late round flyer on them.
Yeah, I'd say late round flyer just because, again, rookie receivers are always scary because you don't know how long it's going to take for them to really sink in with their quarterback. You get every now and then you get a guy like Juju Smith-Schuster that just is a phenom and it comes in and does things immediately. With Calvin Ridley, I like him a lot. I think he's going to get a lot of targets, so I definitely would target him in the draft. I would just wait for later rounds because I don't think he's going to go very early.
No, I would 100% be looking for him in double-digit rounds. So, Hey, if you have a wide receiver need 10th, 11th round, sure, take a shot. But yeah, not any sooner than that for me. Let's move on to the third wide receiver taken off the board. He was taken as the 8th pick in the second round, and that's Courtland Sutton. So, guys, what are your thoughts on Courtland Sutton? A guy who has he's often defined as being a guy who, just big, long arms, strong, great hands, big catch radius. I mean, he was probably the biggest red zone target out of the top tier of wide receivers for sure. 6'3", 218. What are your thoughts on him?
I like him. For his size, he's a pretty smooth runner.
I probably should have said this for the Broncos, who drafted him as well. Broncos wide receiver.
Right. Yeah. There you go. To the Broncos. For his size, he's a very good athlete. He ran about a 4.5 40, which is pretty good for someone of that height and size. He's got pretty good hands. Made a lot of one-handed catches, which was kind of interesting, given the fact he's this big, huge, long radius guy. But the one thing that bothers me about him is that he has problems making the catch in traffic. When you see him running down a sideline and he cuts inside and you've got a safety and a corner on him, he has problems contesting catches, which is something that at his size he's going to need to fix. He's got to be able to get those contested catches. Otherwise, that size means absolutely nothing. So I think that it's a nice fit in Denver. Gives them another weapon for Case Keenum to throw to. And once they get that under control, I think he'll be a nice contributor.
Yeah, I agree with Jason. He's definitely got to get that under control. I mean, because I'm just picturing him in that offense that they want to move him inside to the slot. I mean, that's what you're dealing with. You're dealing with linebackers and shifty corners going around you. So you definitely got to get those hands under control and secure that ball in. But I mean, I like him as far as his presence he's bringing to this Denver's offense, and they could be able to do some other things with Emmanuel Sanders and probably put him in the slot, and he could be more elusive in there and stuff like that. So this adds a different dynamic to their offense as far as the receivers, and probably breathing in some fresh young blood and some life there. You'll probably see some explosiveness out of those guys next year.
See, for me, with this offense and their shortcomings, at least to me, at running back, I mean, obviously they got Royce Freeman, who could supplant Devontae Booker as the starter, which, we'll see how that plays out with C.J. Anderson gone. As I'm on record saying, I don't think Case Keenum is the answer to this offense. Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders, both aging and with relatively big contracts. That, to me, the biggest note worth noting here, if you're in dynasty leagues, I really like Cortland Sutton because one, if not both of these guys, I expect to be gone next year, and he will be penciled in as a full-time starter, I would imagine. And they also drafted Deshaun Hamilton in the 4th round, so another wide receiver that could move his way up the depth chart. So we'll see how that plays out. But Cortland Sutton, kind of like we were saying, I think he's penciled in as one of the top 3. His role to be determined because this offense has never yielded very well to the 3rd wide receiver or any options outside of Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders, who both, by the way, failed to reach 1,000 yards last year, which is something worth noting. So we'll see how it plays out. But I don't like him for redraft very much. I would probably let him go undrafted and maybe watch him on the waiver wire if one of these guys inevitably gets hurt. But yeah, I don't know. I'm probably not targeting him in redraft leagues, so that's just me, even though he's a 2nd rounder. So, but we'll see. Let's move on. The next guy who was taken, the 12th pick in the 2nd round, was Dante Pettis to the Washington Redskins. No, he was in Washington. He got drafted by the San Francisco 49ers. I'll get there. Just give me time. Pettis, a very fast wide receiver, 6'1", 186, a slender guy. I see him as an effective number 2 wide receiver. If he fills out his frame a little bit more, maybe he could work his way up to being an outside guy. I see him as kind of a Swiss Army knife, really more of a slot receiver to me. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I see him more of more as a quick receiver as opposed to a fast receiver. I think once he starts down the sideline, I think that if he's against a high end corner, they're gonna go step for step with him. He's gonna have problems getting the ball. He's also slight, like you said. He's only 186 pounds, so he's gonna match up against the bigger corner. He's gonna have a lot of problems. I'm not sure why San Francisco went with him in this position. He definitely was not. He wasn't this high in my list of wide receivers.
No.
Also, it wasn't really a big need for them. I mean, they've actually got quite a few receivers now, some decent receivers out there. So, very strange pick. I mean, he's a talented guy, and he'll probably fit some sort of need. But he looks like a slot guy to me, and they have a slot guy. So I'm not 100% sure what's going on here.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Jason. I think, I mean, it's a luxury pick in my mind when I see it, because I think their wide receivers wise, they're pretty much set in my book, just looking on outside in. But, hey, maybe they're thinking down the road, when Pierre Garçon, they're probably going to move on from him past this year. So they, they're probably going to bring him in, and, maybe he might get a little Keelan Cole, that wide receiver out of the Jaguars. He might get some of that love later on in the season. He'll be one of those darlings for us, and we'll look for him next year.
Yeah, I mean, he's currently listed as like their 5th or 6th wide receiver in their depth chart, which I don't think will be the case in the long run. But he'll, to me, and with what we're all saying here, I think he's going to be competing with Trent Taylor to be that slot wide receiver. And we'll see how it shakes out. They obviously bolstered that offensive line. They really tried to really work around the board. They had a lot of draft picks, and they focused pretty evenly offensively and defensively early, getting wide receiver and offensive line help. So we'll see how it all shakes out. It could be good. Again, a guy I'm probably not targeting because I just don't think there's enough volume. Would you guys target him?
Yeah. No. I would wait. I'd let him the waiver wire.
I'm okay.
Yeah, Pierre Garçon, I would draft. Marcus Goodwin, a guy, of course, fantasy darling, one of those guys that really picked up a lot of steam last year. He'll be drafted. I think those are the only 2 wide receivers worth draft capital. The rest of the guys, waiver wire and things of that nature, at least in San Francisco. So, but let's keep moving. You guys want to talk about Anthony Miller or James Washington? They were taken as the next 2 picks, the number 19 and number 28 picks in the draft.
You I can't believe you missed my boy. You missed.
I did
my
pass
boy.
up.
Number 15
Oh, no.
in round 2, Mr. Christian Kirk.
My fault. I apologize. I looked right past him. Sorry. Take it away, Jason. This is your guy. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Let me tell you about Mr. Christian Kirk. I like this kid so much. So a smaller guy. He's not 6 feet tall. He's 5'10". Okay, good speed. 4.40 basically, but great hands. And the big thing about this dude, really, really good route runner. Okay, if Calvin Ridley wasn't in this draft, he'd be the best route runner in the draft. Another thing that you hear about this kid is just how much of a professional he is, how hard he works. Very, very good, solid number 2 wide receiver. Went to my Arizona Cardinals. I have a feeling he's going to end up being the number 2 guy this year, right behind Larry Fitzgerald. So you could get some pretty good value from him in the later rounds.
I like this for the Cardinals because the Cardinals, what they're doing is they're bringing in sounding to me, and I don't want to be disrespectful, but a better version of John Brown. I mean, this guy not only has speed, but he's a good route runner, and he's younger, he's healthier. You're not going to get all that the health challenges you got with John Brown with this kid. So I like this pick for them. And then of course you got your quarterback too there. So now you got him a weapon for the future. So this is good to me. I like this pick from you guys.
I mean,
also really, really good kick. I'm sorry, Griffin. Really, really good kick returner too. 8 touchdowns off of kick returns, punt and kick returns combined. That's pretty darn good.
Yeah, I think he fills a different role than John Brown, though he has that very nice speed.
Yeah, he's more of a slot.
Yeah, he's only 5'10", but to me, when I was watching some of his film and I was making my notes, I simply put down that this guy is fearless. He has no problem going across the middle and making a tough contested catch and just getting lit up with the ball, knowing he's going to get hit, but he makes that catch. He has really good instincts. He's good at contested catches as well. He's described as having elite intangibles. I mean, this is a really good prospect, but of course, slot receivers usually aren't those ones that you see taken in the first round, which is why he was not one of those top-tier talents. But for his talent and the landing spot and the opportunity, I really like Christian Kirk, and I could honestly see him being a late-round flyer-worthy guy because I think, kind of like you said, Jason, I think that this offense is going to be, obviously, Larry Fitzgerald, it's going to be David Johnson, and I think it's going to be probably Chad Williams as the other starting outside receiver. Would you agree with that?
Well, it's either going to be Chad Williams or Bryce Butler.
I agree with
Bryce Butler in.
I agree with that completely. And then I think it's Christian Kirk in the slot. So it's between those two for the other side with Larry. Which is interesting because, of course, Larry's been manning the slot under the old regime. So I guess he bounces back outside.
Well, I can tell you this from a whole Cardinals insider look. Steve Wilkes is more of a let's move everybody around kind of a guy. So he's not going to commit Larry Fitzgerald to the slot, and Larry has already come out and said he's already asked me to learn every single receiver position. So basically he's saying we're going to move everybody around until we find whatever works against every single opponent.
Yeah. And, of course, Christian Kirk being a slot receiver, and whether Sam Bradford's in there, hyper-accurate quarterback, or he goes down and Josh Rosen comes in, I don't think it affects his value. So
right.
I like the security of Christian Kirk. He's a late-round flyer for me for sure. Jason, you agree. CJ, you? Yep. What are your thoughts?
Sure, why not? I'll take a shot at it.
You'll take a stab in the dark there, take a swing at him, see what happens.
We'll see.
One of those super, super late picks that you're probably going to dropping for bye-week fill-ins right off the bat. Or
Pretty
an ad
much.
Drop. Yeah.
Pretty much.
I mean, at least you could say you had him on your team when he blows up down the line. All right, well, let's move on. So now, Anthony Miller, he goes into an incredibly congested situation in Chicago. 5'11", fast. He's the ability to make a lot of great catches, but he's buried on the depth chart there. I don't think he's very fantasy relevant. I think best case scenario, we're talking about him as a wide receiver 3. So do you want to talk about him very much or keep moving? Because there's some names definitely we're talking about still down the line.
Yeah, again, like you said, it's a pretty congested wide receiver room, which is kind of funny to say because it's the Bears, and one of the things that we knocked on them hard last year. The Bears. I think this kid's going to be really good in a year or two. But for right now, like you said, I think he's just buried.
Yeah, I mean, we make fun of them because of the lack of elite talent, but they made some signings. They brought in Allen Robinson, uncontestedly their number one. Kevin White, their first-round pick from 2015. He's kind of coming on. They're expecting him to be big things. They obviously brought in Taylor Gabriel, so I assume that Anthony Miller kind of slots in behind those guys, probably as a slot receiver for them. He's only 5'11". So maybe we get some playing time, but I don't think he's fantasy relevant. Same with James Washington. He got drafted to the Pittsburgh Steelers. 5'11", 213. Yeah, exactly. I just don't see a world where he's fantasy relevant this year, which is why I don't know how much we really want to say about him. Because to me, he's best case scenario third or fourth receiver on the depth chart. Because Juju Smith-Schuster and of course Antonio Brown uncontestedly as the one and the two. Martavis Bryant out the door gives him more of an opportunity, but I think we only see James Washington in 3 wide receiver sets. So
yeah.
I don't know how much there's to talk about. Anything you guys want to say about him?
No. Again, he's not fantasy relevant, I don't think.
All right. What about DJ Chark, who went actually later than we thought he was going to go? 6'3", 199. To me, he fills into the Allen Robinson role. The Jags, they went out there, they signed a crap ton of wide receivers to try and fill that gap, re-signing some guys at contracts that honestly truly still have me scratching my head. But now they go out and they grab Chark, who I think is going to. I think by the time it's all said and done, I think it's going to be Marquise Lee and DJ Chark as the 1-2 outside guys. Dante Moncrief will work his way in. Keenan Cole will do the same. D.D. Westbrook will work in. But I think the Chark being this 6'3", 200-pound wide receiver, he had a very 4.40. Yeah, I was going to say a very good combine for that exact reason. Yeah, I could see a world where he gets pretty good fantasy value, though we also have to point out on a team where they've openly said they don't want to pass the ball. So just how good can it be for fantasy? So what are your thoughts, Jason? We'll start with you.
Oh, man, I really, really like DJ Chark. That was somebody that I was kind of hoping Arizona would also target. Like you said, 6'3", 200 pounds, so he's got some room to put on some more weight, some more muscle, so he can survive in the NFL. 4.3, 4.40. I mean, the dude is lightning fast. He had a 40-inch vertical. I mean, the guy's a freak. All right, so I completely agree with you. I think he's definitely going to take one of those outside spots with that speed, his ability to high point the ball, and he's a pretty good route runner. Got pretty decent hands. So overall, I really do like this guy, and I'd be looking for him in late rounds.
Yeah, man. This guy caught my eye during the combine, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this dude is ridiculous. Yeah. What offense he goes to. So when the draft was going on, I had to work, so I didn't get to really watch what's going on day 2, what happened. So I was looking for him to see where he went to. When I saw he went to the Jaguars, I was like, oh my goodness, I love it. I love the pick. I love the pick because the opportunity there is just right. It's prime for him to take over. I mean, look, you got Marquise Lee, a guy that is really good, but I don't know if the Jaguars are too sold on him. I mean, yeah, they gave him a good contract, but I don't know if it's not, to me, it's not impressing to me what the money that they paid him. I still think it's a kind of a prove-it deal. You bring in my man Moncrief, that's my dude, but this is a new offense, so it's kind of still open. Keenan Cole, I still think he's going to have a place in this offense and a role. And then you bring in Chark, and I'm like, Chark could be that solid number 2 for this offense. And by production and then him just outworking people, he might just end up being number 1. So I don't know, but I really like him going into this offense, being that speed, and like Jason said, if he put some weight on his body, he's going to be a very like Josh Gordon-esque kind of a guy in this offense, and just could be a monster, to be honest.
When we inevitably do our sleeper show, this guy will be somebody that we're going to be talking about quite a bit.
Oh yeah.
Because as of right now, he's going undrafted. So
that's beautiful.
It's a guy you can definitely snipe late, and I mean, I don't think you're going to get a ton of value out of him initially, but as this gets going, because of course Jacksonville, they got some offensive line help this off season. Brought in some blocking tight ends there, so they're definitely gonna be run first, like you said, CJ. But
that play action, God,
DJ Chark could be just a monster red zone target. He might be a little boom bust, but I like him a lot.
I can see defensive coordinators just pulling their hair out, and then they're just gonna be taking. Like when you start to peel cheese, that fine cheese, that's what they're going to be doing with their hair, because a lot of these guys don't have hair. So,
wow.
Great.
Anyway, thank you for that analysis, CJ. We'll move on to yet another guy who talk about actually having an opportunity ahead of him. We mentioned this guy briefly before, Michael Gallup, going to the Dallas Cowboys. Now,
there you go.
He goes to a place that is in desperate need of offensive playmakers. Obviously,
wide receivers wanted.
Wide receivers and tight ends wanted. All they have is a running back right now in Ezekiel Elliott, which honestly kind of scares me for this season, because they're just going to stack the box against him. Not that that's going to stop him very well. We've seen that in the past, but look, I'll put it to you this way. Allen Hurns brought in. And as we talked about, he's currently listed behind Terrence Williams and Deontay Thompson. I don't think there's any way that Allen Hurns is not put ahead of them, especially with the contract he was given. And I think it's going to be Mike Gallup who ends up being that number 2 guy with him. I think it's going to be those 2 guys that are starting. Terrence Williams is going to be probably rotational, sub-package. Tavon Austin, we expect in the slot, despite what we're hearing about them using him as a freaking running back. This is a guy who's walking into an offense that needs offensive outside help, wide receiver, pass-catching help in general, and there's a lot of targets to be had. So this is a guy who I think is definitely worth a late-round flyer because, on volume alone, he could be a pretty nice, especially PPR option for you in fantasy leagues. What are your thoughts, guys?
Well, he's a little raw, compared to like a DJ Moore type.
I agree.
A little bit more raw. But he does have a lot of upside for sure. He's 6 feet tall, good size. Had some pretty decent production. If he's able to kind of fill out a little bit and do the kind of things that he can do, he had pretty decent combine. Other than 4.5, not so great at the 40-yard dash, but everything else is pretty good. I think this guy could have some value, like you said, because they just don't have a lot of weapons right now.
Yeah, like you guys said, the opportunity is there. I just hope that it doesn't get too much for him, because, like I said, this offense is definitely pressured now because they don't have proven already talent that can be able to go to that next level in this offense and be able to sustain that. Allen Hurns, we've seen him do his thing in the Jacksonville, but for some reason late last year they just kind of went away from him. Could it be injuries? Could be. Was it just the flow of the offense? That's a good argument to add too. But it's just for some reason he wasn't there. And outside of that, you got a bunch of castaways on this offense. So he has the opportunity to be able to do it. I just hope that he can be able to take advantage of it and it doesn't get too much for him, because there's nothing worse to watch is rookies get put in a position where they're not ready for, or it just gets too much.
This guy, he has the ability to play inside and outside, so I think he'll be used kind of universally. I don't think he has the best high-end speed. Like, he's defined as not having a second gear, but he's really good at breaking zones, finding the weak spot, and being able to be in the slot as well. I just, through opportunity, he's going to be a valuable fantasy option. A late-round flyer for me. None of these guys are worth anything more than late-round flyers, basically what we're getting to. But this is one of the guys that I do like that has that upside and that opportunity. I guess let's move on.
Tight ends?
Do we want to?
Tight ends?
Yeah, I
we
think.
Passed tight end? I know tight ends is gone now.
Baltimore Delight?
Well, I was going to say, do we want to talk about Traquan Smith to the Saints? Or because the rest of the guys, I think, are all buried in depth charts. I don't think they're worth mentioning, like some of the guys we've even mentioned. But, he has an opportunity to maybe see the field, going to a good offense. Do we want to talk about him at all? 6'2", 210?
Waiver wire guy.
Waiver wire guy, yeah.
We'll just leave it at that. He's... Yeah, okay, we'll just leave it at that. We'll move on.
Going to be good in a couple years.
He could be a sneaky option down the line, probably not worth drafting this year. With that, let's move on to the tight end position. The conversation which we know excites everybody to no end. This is the reason you're all here.
Went to the Ravens.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, my number 2 and number 3 tight ends in this draft, both drafted by my Baltimore Ravens. So that's
there you
something.
go. There you go, Ozzy.
Passing up on my number 1. And so we'll start with the first tight end taken off the board with the 25th pick in the first round, and that is tight end Hayden Hurst out of South Carolina, 6'5", 250 pounds. A guy who doesn't have a prolific stat line in college, but he's universal, big guy, much older guy, which is something we've harped on quite a bit. He's older than tight ends we drafted 3-4 years ago. But, yeah, he's big. He's fast enough to get down the seam. I mean, he's a really good blocker. And he's listed as having deficiencies as a blocker, but I haven't really seen it, honestly. So I like him as a universal tight end, and an every down player. There it is. What do you guys think?
No, you pretty much covered it. He's a universal guy. He's probably the best all-round tight end, most polished all-round tight end in the draft. As you mentioned, he's 25 years old, and he's been a professional athlete before. He's a professional baseball player, so that's good. I mean, you're getting some instant leadership in that tight ends room. Someone who's been a pro athlete in the past. That's all good. Strange that he was taken when he was taken.
Agreed.
I didn't see him. I didn't see him going that high. But I mean, he's still got a really good football player. Someone that can catch the ball, as you say. He's got good hands, and someone who can block. So overall, not a bad pick.
CJ, I know you're just waiting to rip in here.
Listen, man, you gotta replace those tight ends. You let go. I mean, listen, the Ravens, when they get their tight ends, they like them old. You know what I'm saying? Because they want the experience. They want the experience. So guess what? I support this pick. Ozzy knows what he's doing. And you know what? For you, Griffin, late round flyer.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
He's going to be one of many tight ends in this really crazy populated committee. I will say that he's got an opportunity to be a very sneaky option in PPR because there's one thing Joe Flacco loves. It's his tight ends. And Joe Flacco, who, by the way, finished 32nd in the league last year in yards per passing attempt, which was... Do you guys want to guess what Joe Flacco's yards per attempt were last season? 6?
Pass.
You can't just pass. That's a question. Jason's pretty close. 5.7 yards per attempt.
Oh, I was joking. God, that's so bad.
That's the worst part. I expected that to be a joke, and the worst part is you're pretty darn close. A 6'5" target at 5 yards out seems like a pretty appealing option. So yeah, Hayden Hurst, he'll move around the formation. He'll work on his blocking skills, which they say is lacking. I thought he gave it his all. I think they can work on that. He's got good hands. He's explosive. He doesn't have great top end speed, but I think he can be explosive. So we'll see how it all plays out. Hayden Hurst, the top tight end taken off the board. The next guy off the board is a name that I'm going to butcher. I guarantee it. Mike Gesicki. Is that right? Gesicki, whatever. He was my 4th tight end. I know. He was my 4th tight end on my list. He goes to the Miami Dolphins, who obviously needed a tight end after Julius Thomas was cut. So he, I think, was the tallest tight end. He's 6'6", 247. Really big target, long arms, really big hands. He can high point well. Good at jump balls, of course, with that. I don't think he's going to be a very good blocker, though, based on anything I saw. So I think he's going to be kind of filling that Julius Thomas role, per se, as a, fantasy-relevant pass-catching tight end. But the question is, how fantasy-relevant is anybody in Miami right now? So what are your guys' thoughts?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, this is one of my favorite tight ends in the draft. Just a freak athlete, 4'5", 440 at 6'6". That's crazy. 250 pounds. He used to be a high jumper. So, I mean, that's probably good when you have a 6'6" guy that used to be a high jumper. He had a 41-inch vertical. So, I mean, the guy is just a genetic freak. He's scored a lot of points in college. I mean, he's an absolute matchup nightmare. Like you said, he's not a blocker. He's not going to get in there and block at the point of attack. He's not going to do those 10 things. What he's going to do is he's going to catch the ball. He's going to be a very dangerous weapon, especially in the red zone.
Gronk-esque.
I do really like this pick for them. It was a position of need, and it was good value. I thought Gesicki was actually closer to a first-round pick.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to a place that definitely needs that's been desperately wanting some reliability, some consistency. Good God, at the position. So yeah, I like the pick. Like Jason was saying, good numbers, good size. Now it's just for him and Ryan Tannehill to get some magic going on. You know?
I agree with you, Jason. I think he has first-round talent. If we're talking about obviously a fantasy option, but as a pass catcher. But I didn't have him ranked in my top 3 at tight ends because of his blocking deficiencies as a well-rounded player. So
right.
that was my thought process. But yeah, I do like the guy. He's very, very good at catching the ball, which is great for us in fantasy. So somebody to watch, and if he gets involved in the offense, could be worth a late-round flyer. We've seen that all you need from a tight end is a touchdown to be fantasy relevant. So a lot of these guys struggling to make it to 4 or 5 points a week, and 6 on a touchdown catch is pretty nice. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on this guy for sure. Next guy taken, the third one off the board, which was Jason and I's number 1. Yours as well, CJ, I believe.
Oh yeah, you know what's up.
Yep, Dallas Goedert taken.
Goddard.
Nope, Goedert. He is taken. See, at this point, I'm just saying it to mess with CJ. He's taken by his Philadelphia Eagles. What was he? The 17th pick in the second round. 6'5", 256. To me, the most universally just best tight end. Really, really good combination of speed, size, good hands, good at high pointing, catching, contesting, boxing out guys. Also good at blocking. I just thought he was by far and away the best tight end in this class. Not really sure why he fell. What are your thoughts, guys?
That's your guy. Go ahead.
Let's start with you, CJ. Yeah, let's go with you.
I thought, listen, I love this guy. I mean, I go back and look at this guy's highlights. It's absolutely ridiculous. He looks like Jimmy Graham's older brother. That's how this guy was looking. And it's like the playmaking ability, the toughness, it's just his fluidness with his routes and just how natural he is at catching the ball. All of that stuff I love. And now you bringing him into a Philadelphia offense where my coach, once he made the pick and called this kid up and let him know this is Philadelphia Eagle, he just said, our red zone offense just got better. So what that is saying to me is the kid is coming into a system where he's going to get the looks and going to get the touches in the red zone. And that's going to be money, especially at the tight end position. If you can get touchdowns, legit, consistent touchdowns from your tight end in the red zone, that is beautiful. So he is definitely a late round flyer for me, especially at this position that is just so murky when it comes to being consistent. So yeah, I love it.
You know what's fun about this guy is that I've seen 2 comparisons on him: Todd Heap and Zach Ertz. Zach
Beautiful.
Ertz. That basically means that the Philadelphia Eagles have got themselves 2 Zach Ertzes running down the field.
I love it.
That is.
Bet they wish it was crazy. A Todd Heap.
I'm okay. I'm okay.
Bottom line here is that, like I said, this is an absolute value pick for Philadelphia. They got him in the middle of the second round. This was my number 1 tight end, as we've already mentioned. Absolute universal. He's a universal tight end, someone that can block and catch. He can block out. He's a big guy. Just a really, really good pick. Really talented tight end. And he could do something this year. He's got to compete with Ertz for touches, but that's okay because when they get into the red zone, one of these guys is going to get a touchdown.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Definitely best player on the board at the time. I was shocked he was there.
Yeah.
Fills the Trey Burton role, or position at least, in the offense. Unfortunately, he sits behind Zach Ertz, so probably not fantasy relevant. Though you could see some nice boom-bust weeks for him. I think it's going to be hard to predict when those weeks are, though, because, I guess you guys do run. Go ahead.
When Ertz is injured, and he has shown that he can. He's shown that he can be injured.
Well, yeah, in that case,
a couple games. You know what I mean? And then so he's in there. I mean, and then when Jason was saying that, you feeling the Trey. I mean, what you said, he's feeling the Trey Burton role. This team also lost Brent Selleck. They end up losing him, and he was the longer tender tight end there too. So this guy really is filling two roles.
I have a lot of love for Brent Selleck, but I mean, he has not been relevant for years. He's been the backup.
More blocking.
And let's not forget that you guys brought in Richard Rodgers as well. So he is the definition of a red zone just catching guy. He doesn't do too much more than that. He's not explosive enough to be used in the open field very often. So it's just a lot of competition. So it's really hard to say that Goddard's going to be worth a draft pick, but. I mean, this is the same argument we had with like O.J. Howard last year, So, do you trust the talent or do you trust the situation that he's in? Because it's just not a good situation for fantasy production. So,
true.
We'll see. Mark Andrews, the fourth tight end off the board, also going to my Baltimore Ravens. He was taken in the third round. We're into the third now. He kind of is a good compliment to me with Hayden Hurst, and a lot of people have been saying this is the Rob Gronkowski and why am I blanking on his name?
Come on, you got it.
Oh my God! I blocked his name out of my post-murder charges.
Murder charges? What the crap?
Come on, Patriots tight end.
You're talking about Hernandez.
Thank you, Jesus. God, my brain so tired.
Yeah, without all the murder.
Yeah,
without the murder.
Yeah, murder is what got CJ on the track. Yeah. So they've heard that this is the same kind of combination of size, speed, blocking, outside catching ability, inside shifting, this, that, the other. He's really good at reading defenses and finding soft spots and zones. He's big, just like Hurst and all these other guys, 6'5", 256. He can be, to me, a pretty effective number two. I think he needs to put on some more size personally, and that's funny to say at 256, but I felt like he got muscled around a little bit. But he's definitely a mismatch when he's on the field for the most part, especially when he's going out wide or shifting into the slot. So I like the pick, but again, it's a pick at a position of what to me is strength with the Ravens, and I thought they could have gone elsewhere. Could be a viable option though, not for fantasy though. What do you guys think?
I really like Mark Andrews. He was I had him statted out as going in the top of the second round, so value pick for you guys. Really, really good value. The good thing about this pick, one of the reasons it didn't bother me that much was, number one, like you said, he's a perfect complement to Hayden Hurst. You now got two guys that are both big tight ends. One of them, this guy, Mark Andrews, is more of a giant receiver. That's kind of what he is. He's more of a big receiver. He's not going to block. He's not going to stand on the line and play a part in the run game. That's what you got Hayden Hurst for. This guy is going to be your red zone weapon. He's going to be the guy who's going to pick up the yards that you need to get into the end zone. The other reason I thought this was a good pick is because you guys picked up Orlando Brown a couple picks early.
Yeah,
a big offensive tackle. Really, really, really big.
Isn't it amazing? A guy who was slated to be a first-round pick, and he fell to the third because of his freaking off-season performance?
Oh, my gosh. The combine was terrible.
Terrible combine.
The combine was awful.
He went in there trying to wing it. Looking like a guy coming off the street saying, hold my beer, watch me do this. So, that
exactly.
didn't help.
But you know what, though? That's where you start getting into, and we've said it many times on this show, that's when you get into the underwear Olympics and putting pads on and playing the game. And when you put pads on, Orlando Brown is a monster, figuratively and physically. The dude is a giant monster. So you guys added a lot of size to your offense. This is becoming more of a red zone seeking offense, especially with these tight ends. Both of them are very athletic. I like the pick, to be honest with you.
Well,
yeah, man. I like to see you guys run some 3 tight end sets. You got these 2 rookies you packed. No, look, I'm serious. I'm honest because look, you got Max Williams.
No, it's true.
And then you got these 2 other guys. This is going to be good. I mean, there are playbooks that have that, and I mean, when you got this talent here, I mean, come on, you'll be a criminal for you not to do that. You got to run some 3 tight end sets.
I mean, Max Williams, second-round pick, who was thought to be a first-round pick back in 2015, still on the roster. He hasn't really materialized, but he's been banged up a lot. And, it's funny because we say he was drafted back in 2015, but still younger than Hayden Hurst. He came into the league at 20, so it's kind of insane. Nick Boyle, who's more of a blocking tight end, is there. Darren Waller can do a little bit of it all. He got still facing his 1-year suspension, still serving, I should say. And then what's his name? Vince Mail. Is that his name?
I said 3, and now you're going to 4 and 5. See now you're making it.
I'm going to 6. That's how many tight ends we have right now, which is a problem. Why don't we just line up 6 tight ends and just that'll be our goal line package.
Who needs wide receivers?
No, not us. We're going out there, jumbo package, extra linemen, and then all tight ends. And we're just gonna go out there, and everybody's gonna scatter, and it's gonna be like a game of pickup.
I'm gonna call you guys the Spruce Goose offense. That's gonna be that's what you guys are gonna be.
Freaking
Goose offense.
Goose. I can't believe you just said that. So, with that, I think that's all the fantasy relevant tight ends worth mentioning. Everything else is depth move. We're talking about, Texans, another guy for the Jets, backup to Greg Olsen in Carolina. It's not. Well, maybe Dalton Schultz comes out to be something. 37th pick in the 4th round to the Dallas Cowboys now that the retirement has happened of Jason Witten. Is he worth talking about mentioning, or you guys want to just kind of get out of here because opportunity arises, but will he be viable? Probably not. I think he's.
We'll see. I think he's a preseason guy. You got probably to keep your eye on.
I mean, currently he's listed as the 4th tight end on their depth chart, so we'll see how it plays out. But yeah, I guess let's get out of here because we're over an hour now. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed the show, make sure you subscribe. Follow wherever you're listening. Give us a rating, give us a review. We greatly appreciate it. Leave a comment down below your thoughts on these guys, especially if they were drafted by your team, so you're probably going to have some passionate feelings about it. And make sure you guys tune in on Tuesday when we'll be back. We'll be starting to talk. I can talk. We're going to be talking winners and losers from this draft. So we've now broken down all the fantasy relevant options, and we're going to go through and talk about the winners, the losers, team by team, talk about obviously who's going to be moving up draft boards, who's moving down draft boards based on the signings made around them on their teams. So that will be Tuesday's show. And with that, I guess we're out of here. Make sure you guys subscribe on Twitter at the FF Fanatics, or you can follow us individually. I'm at GPalmerFFF, CJ's at CJ Hickman89, Jason at Jason Cabrera 13. So any parting thoughts, fellas?
Hey man, hit us up, man.
Offense.
No,
wow.
not that.
Not
that. Listen,
Jason,
hit us up, man. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Come on, man. We want to talk to you guys, man. Let's do it. Talk to us. Don't be shy.
We talk back. It's true, and not in a mean way.
We do.
So, anything to say besides Spruce Goose offense, Jason?
The Ravens just going to be going down the field 6 yards at a time. It's going to be amazing.
Go see Infinity Wars.
All right.
Go out there.
Yep.
So good.
So we're out of here. Everyone take care. Have a great weekend. Like CJ said, go see Infinity War, and we'll see you guys on Tuesday.
Oh, please do.
Take care.
So good.
Bye.
Life in the fast lane, moving at the speed of life, and I can't slow down. Only got a gallon in the gas tank, but I'm almost at the finish line, so I can't stop.
Happy birthday,
now. I don't really know where I'm headed, just enjoying the ride. Just gonna roll till I drop and ride till I die.
Sending pesos his way.
Sending them pesos. Sending that $5.
$5.